They said the old oak at the edge of Wildwood Trail was haunted. Towering and gnarled, its branches curled like fingers reaching out, always seeming to whisper in the wind, even when the forest stood still. Locals swapped story-strange sounds, flickering shadows, the feeling of being watched. Most stayed away. I didn't. During lockdown, when the world crumbled into chaos and my apartment drowned in silence, I ran. Not for fitness, not for fun, for control. And every evening at exactly 6:45 p.m., I laced up my sneakers and ran straight to that tree. Out there, beneath its looming presence, life felt distant, but also strangely manageable. Same path, same playlist, same steady breath. It was more than a run, it was a ritual. Something sacred in the sameness, in the sound of my footfalls on the cracked asphalt leading to the gnarled roots, and the wind pushing through the branches like a whispered hymn. That part of Forest Park wasn't flashy, a narrow loop, worn by time and weather, circling a tired pond and ending at the solitary oak. It felt more like a forgotten corner of suburbia than a nature escape. Most people didn't bother with it after dark, especially not near that tree, but I never minded. The solitude was welcome. It felt like mine, until last Tuesday. Everything that night felt normal at first. The sun melting down behind the trees, painting shadows across the ground. I gave the usual nod to the woman with the golden retriever. Same smile, same earbuds, same dog, trotting confidently ahead. The air smelled like clipped grass and early summer. But something was different. I made the first loop, legs finding rhythm, breath sinking to the beat in my ears. There was a kind of magic to it. Those first 10 minutes where nothing exists except you and the road. But something was off. I didn't notice it at first. At the pond, I paused, like I always do. There's something about still water at twilight that makes you reflective. But that night, the pond was too still. No ducks, no insects, no breeze. It looked less like water and more like glass. I crouched to retie my lace and caught sight of something that hadn't been there before. A pair of sneakers, neatly placed at the very edge of the pond, facing the water, not far from the haunted tree. They weren't dirty. They weren't tossed aside like someone stretching their legs or cooling off. They were arranged, like whoever had worn them had carefully taken them off and walked straight into the pond. I waited, expecting a swimmer to break the surface, someone to laugh and wave, but nothing, just that eerie stillness, like the world was holding its breath. I stood, every hair on my neck stiffening, a cold knot coiled in my gut, but I shook it off, probably just a prank or some weird performance art. I turned toward the old oak, where the trail narrows and signal dies. That's when I heard it a whisper, close enough to feel on my neck. I spun around. Nothing. No wind. No sound. Just a heavy, unnatural stillness. Then came the whisper sweat, bubbling, like voices from underwater. And then, my name, Elliot. Once, behind me. Again, by the tree. I didn't think. I ran. My legs moved on instinct, muscles burning with the kind of adrenaline that only fear brings. I didn't care about my playlist, my loop, or the time. I needed to get out of there, but as I sprinted deeper into the trail, my eyes caught something ahead, near the base of the old oak. Something wrong. Footprints. Wet ones. Not mine. Pressed into the dry dirt like someone had stepped straight out of the pond and walked barefoot towards the haunted tree. They were fresh, still glistening, and they were leading directly to the thickest part of the shadows beneath its branches. I slowed down. I don't know why. Curiosity. Dread. That's when I saw her. She was standing between two thick roots of the old oak, half concealed in shadow. A woman, tall and motionless, dressed in a long white gown that looked like it belonged in a museum exhibit lessee. Old-fashioned and far too clean for someone standing in the woods. especially near the rumored haunted tree. At first, I thought she might be in trouble. I slowed, pulling out my earbuds. "Hey, are you okay?" I called. She didn't respond. She tilted her head slowly, like a curious dog. Something about her didn't compute. Her posture, her stillness, it was uncanny. And her face, it was wrong. I don't mean it was injured or grotesque. I mean it didn't seem real, like it had been painted on in a rouge slightly off. I ran. No warm-up, just a dead sprint. The trail twisted endlessly, the trees closing in. Gravity itself felt angry. Something was behind me, not steps, just presence. The parking lot never came, until suddenly it did. Flickering lights, my car. I dove in, locked the doors. Heart racing. Nothing followed. But I don't think I escaped. When I got home, I blamed exhaustion. Maybe I was dehydrated. Maybe I'd had a micro-dream, those weird waking nightmares your brain makes when it short-circuits. I didn't sleep that night, though. I left the hallway light on like I used to as a kid. By Wednesday, curiosity won. I returned to the trail to the haunted tree. The park was eerily empty. Near the pond, my old sneakers were gone, but there was a phone lying there instead. Same brand as mine, same spiderweb crack across the screen. The lock screen even had the same photo. Me, smiling awkwardly, like a reflection that didn't belong. For a second, my brain glitched. I patted my pocket. My phone was still there, safe and solid. But when I looked again, the one by the pond still glowed. 6:38 p.m., frozen in time, as if waiting. That's when the water rippled. No wind, no ducks, just a ripple, as if something surfaced. Watching, waiting. My skin prickled, an ancient warning. I placed the strange phone on the bench and backed away. Correction ran. My watch said 6:53, but the timing didn't make sense. Something was off. Something had followed me. Ever since, it's like the forest has followed me home. They always warned me about the tree on Wildwood Trail, said it was haunted, cursed, all the usual folklore meant to keep kids in line. I laughed once, not anymore. Now, I hear whispers layered into silence. Soft, patient, they speak when the world holds its breath. Sometimes, I come home to wet footprints across my carpet, barefoot, human-shaped, leading from the front door to my bedroom. They shouldn't be there. Yet, there they are. Worse yet, my phone glitches every evening. 6:45. Over and over again. Time loops that shouldn't exist. Notifications from nowhere. Calls from a number that looks too much like mine. Last night, lying awake, a voice whispered in my ear. Not from outside, not from my phone. Inside my room. Close, it said. "We're not done running," words heavy with promise. This morning, I found the phone, the one I left by the pond and my kitchen table. Still wet, still glowing. Its screen flickered with that same time. 6:38. As if the moment never ended. As if I never left. I think Wildwood Trail owns me now. The more I try to ignore it, the tighter the loop becomes. Every run takes me back to that tree. Every night, the whispers get louder. The reflection in the pond watches with my face, but it doesn't blink, doesn't breathe. The trail remembers. It knows my steps, my fear, and it isn't letting go. If you ever run at night, stay away from Wildwood. Some trails don't lead you home, some loops never end, and some trees don't just watch, they remember. And moral of the story is, some roots run deeper than you think. Disturbing what lies beneath can awaken ancient evils.